Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today, we're talking about the brand new Pyro archetype that's been teased by Konami. A little bit earlier this week, they released a new TCG exclusive set called Maze of Millennia. It's going to import some of the OCG Animation Chronicle type stuff. The big important one as far as the new archetype we're talking about is Bonfire. This is a new spell that adds, it's just Rhoda for Pyros. Insanely good card, but of course it's for a monster type that's not very good, not very well developed, not a ton of great competitive level cards. Enter a couple of things here. In the announcement that they said that Bonfire's coming out in this set, they also announced that there's a brand new theme in Phantom Nightmare that is Pyro based and will make really good usage of Bonfire. Very excited to see what that is, but that's the whole basis of this video. We're going to talk about what we could see from that, some of the cards we already have in the game that are going to make that archetype potentially a little bit interesting, a little bit more interesting depending on how that archetype is broken down. We have no information otherwise other than it's Pyro based, and so let's get into it. So starting off, of course, with the cards that we already have that we need to keep in mind. Of course, Bonfire is probably the single biggest one because they even specifically say that Bonfire is good in it. I'm assuming that, they play multiple level 4 lower Pyros that are pretty good to add to hand. Hopefully a really good starter card, so that this card is a really good consistency piece. Maybe extenders as well. We'll see. From there, we also used a Fire Ejection. This is a card that kind of has been low-key, a little bit under the radar, but that's just because we don't have a great Fire archetype that really wants to be dumped super, super often. But this card just allows you to Foolish Burial any Pyro monster from deck to grave. If we get enough good targets, or maybe just a new archetype that's very graveyard-centric and sending Pyros is really, really good, this card definitely steps up as a potential option. Plus a little bit of extra volcanic synergy with this card as well. Rekindling Some you can't forget either. Do I think they'll make a new archetype that's modern level power and also make all of its targets, rekindling targets? Probably not. But it's still something to keep an eye on. This is not once per turn. It's just, a potential, oh my god, what was that card called? Blanking on the card. Banned card revives all your monsters from grave. Really powerful card, obviously. A couple extra monsters that I think are neat. First one is Infernal Flame Banshee. This card is a completely generic rank 4 that can either add or Foolish any Pyro monster from deck. That's really, really good. And then it also has the potential to add itself or special itself back to the field if you control a Pyro when it's banished. It's really good. Honestly, a really good card. This could definitely be a usable tool as well. This searches level 4 or lowers. It's possible they have a couple different level 4s to be able to take advantage of and make Banshee to push you into other pieces of your engine. We'll see. Sunlight Wolf, I wouldn't normally throw Sunlight Wolf into a category like this, but to be honest, Rescue Ace has kind of opened my eyes. If this new archetype is maybe a little more main deck based, just like Rescue Ace, but they have the tools to spam the board pretty well, Sunlight Wolf could definitely be something that they take advantage of, for sure. It's just a good generic fire support card, so don't sleep on it. Then you get to the Sinful Spoils package. So this may be the single, other than Bonfire, the single most important thing to keep in mind. Because this engine, the Diabell Star engine, the Sinful Spoil engine, whatever you want to call it, is a very good engine that doesn't even really need to play bricks at all, and it pretty much searches you for an emergency teleport monster that just special summons any level 1 fire monster straight from your hand or deck. Now, there's no guarantee that this deck is going to be fire attribute, but conventional wisdom would make us think so, right? Pyro, what Pyro card isn't fire attribute? I guess that would be the new Centurion monster because it's dark, but other than that, I can't even really think of one. So I would think it's fire, and if this archetype has an important integral monster to the engine that's a level 1 fire, this engine becomes immediately something it can scale from something you really consider to absolute mandatory. It is the best way to play the deck, and it's a really good engine at getting other utility as well. Something to keep in mind. Next up, Snake Eyes themselves. Not only can this guy just add any level 1 fire, another thing to keep in mind alongside the Snake Eye pack or the Sinful Spoils package, because if you have a level 1 monster, he wrote us for it, especially if it's a really good level 1 monster. So that's really good. And on top of that, they're Pyros. So they have even extra synergy with Bonfire as well. And the last archetype I think is really important to keep in mind. We kind of alluded to it earlier with Fire Ejection, but Volcanics. This archetype has multiple ways to just send anything from hand or deck to grave. That's especially Pyros, looking at fire ejection. They do a really good job at just kind of like being good, having good discards. So if the new archetype has a lot of discard potential, this is a really good, synergistic archetype to play with it. That way you always really have like good discards. So you're maintaining value when you're throwing stuff out of your hand. Definitely something to keep in mind. I don't know what else is going to come there, but I do think there could be something because Volcanics do have a pretty solid core of cards now. So those are the main things I'm looking forward to. Other than that, it's really hard to speculate at this point because there's just no information on this. It's Pyro. It's a Pyro archetype, and that's it. That's all we know. So I don't know. The more graveyard synergy, the better it seems, just off of everything we have. Some of the extra bonus stuff here, fire ejection, rekindling. I mean, you could even say Sinful Spoils because they have to send a face-up card to grave, so that could actually have extra synergy as well. And of course, the Volcanic. So the more graveyard synergistic it is, the better half of these cards become, potentially with the archetype. But even if there isn't, Bonfire is the one that's like a mainstay no matter what. And then from there, it's really going to depend on, is there a level 1 and do they have graveyard synergy? If they don't have those two things, then we're kind of just looking at Bonfire and we're just hoping the archetype is just straight up good in its own right, which is totally possible, for sure. But we'll obviously have to keep an eye out for it. That's pretty much it, though. I really want to see something cool. We've gotten, like, Snake Eye is cool, but Snake Eye doesn't really hit me as, like, an actual Pyro deck. So for the Year of Fire, the closest they've gotten to, like, a pure, in-your-face fire deck has been, like, the Volcanic support. But again, that's not a new archetype. They've just kind of revamped it, an old one, but they also didn't revamp it quite good enough. But maybe if there's enough synergy here, Volcanics could actually see some play on the competitive scene. We'll see. But I'm out of here for today. Thank you so much for watching as always, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. What do you want to see from the brand new Pyro archetype? What are you hoping for? What do you want to see? But also, what are you expecting? Like, well, are there any other fire support cards that are interesting to keep in mind as far as an archetype like that is concerned? I'd also love to hear info on that. But I'm out of here for today. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.